How's it going, man?
Good. Yeah, sorry, I'm just finishing up dinner. It's been pretty damn tight. Um, yeah, it's been a bit intense, but I went straight from work into a meeting, and then it was meant to be a 30-minute meeting, turned into an hour, and then that set me back a bit for the. I was meeting up and going bouldering. That was kind of like my second workout for the day, but
What's fun?
also kind of Wednesday, activity.
hmm
And that ended up taking also. I wanted it to take an hour, which was a bit ambitious, but it took an hour and a half. So got a bit pushed back, and then came home quickly, made some food, and now I'm here.
So, what mean did you have? Was that just for work or?
No, it was actually with um, this guy from a. I think I've mentioned him to you before. The guy I called with in Holstebro one time. He's a coach. Like he does. He also does coaching, but
Was
he
the guy who first inspired you to do the fitness coaching?
no, not that guy. No, he has a sort of like a men's group
Right.
that I'm in, and we were talking. He wanted to talk. I mean, we spoke a bit about content in general, kind of his approach to it, and his how he navigates it, and some of his thoughts about it, some of his plans, his vision, and then we ended up going on some tangents about other random things. He was talking to me about, yeah, we were just speaking about a few different topics, and one that he brought up was that I'm trying to remember exactly how it came up, but he essentially told me that he doesn't read, or yeah, he basically stopped reading books and journaling, which is I was surprised because he's very much into self improvement and all that, and he's very well spoken and very self aware. But he mentioned that he's very much focused on experiences themselves,
hmm
and what do you call it? Sorry,
What?
it just looks. Nah, I'm just like the frame. You're just like so close up to the camera, and I don't know, just like the lighting looks like.
Oh, I don't know why that's not coming up on my screen.
I'm curious to see how it looks at the end, but it just looks kind of. I don't know. Our setup is
I'll
just a bit
sit back.
ratchety, but huh?
I'll sit back.
Our setup is just kind of ratchety, but we'll piece it together bit by bit. But sorry, he was talking about how he doesn't like it takes him away from experiences and just being, and he thinks all of the what are you smiling about?
So, I don't know why.
Uh, he yeah, I also feel like I'm having a hard time focusing, to be honest. I feel like it's a bit of a reflection of our current mental state.
But
But
yeah, but in fairness, I was like, I've been sick basically the whole day. Like I woke up
oh,
pretty
you've been
crap.
sick.
Yeah, like yeah. I had a really early class this morning. And it was like 2 hours of just sitting there, like kind of feeling crap. Then I did some
Mm.
work, then went back home. Still did work, but very casually, just because like I just feel like I mean my throat's been sore and it was sore yesterday, but today I just feel like I don't know how to describe it, just like low in energy and kind of foggy.
Have you been a bit overworked, or what do you think?
I don't know what it is. It's probably a mix of that, like overworking mentally, but also physically, because it's like basketball, gym, and running, but also I didn't get the best sleep last night. Like I washed my sheets the night before, the day yesterday, and I slept with like a small blanket, so I also might have got cold just like that.
Mm. Yeah, probably. That sounds like uni life.
Yeah.
It really does. Sharing a house with five people, not being able to use the washing machine in time, so you have to just compromise and sleep on, yeah, sleep with your little blanket. Yeah, that sounds like uni in a nutshell.
But yeah, you going?
Yeah, yeah. So we were speaking about. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to remember how it came up in the first place. I think we spoke about his what he kind of values and prioritizes currently, and how he's limiting the amount of things that he spends energy on just to focus on experiences themselves. So spending less time in the kind of planning and reflecting phase and more time in the action and just execution and doing phase. And it kind of resonated a lot with me because he said he stopped journaling and stopped reading books because he just acts on things. For example, if he has a challenge he's struggling with, instead of journaling about the root cause of this obstacle and challenge and trying to understand what the underlying issue is and how it's making him feel and all this stuff, he just kind of puts a task out or does something to address it directly.
Hmm.
And the same with the books. He just feels that all of the knowledge and all the things he's seeking is sort of internal, and he just needs to kind of learn them from experiences. And I texted you this, but what you answered was pretty interesting because I did want to get your take on that. But it did make a bit of sense to me. Like, of course, I don't fully think I'm going to stop reading or anything like that, but
Hmm.
there is some degree of kind of mental masturbation when it comes to just learning for the sake of learning and kind of going through productivity books and journaling, feeling like you need all these habits when really you already know enough that you could be spending energy on and doubling down on. Kind of the idea of essentialism as well, where this new productivity tool isn't going to change my life. It might be insightful, it might be something new that I've learned, but I probably knew a little bit of this before, and there's already loads of way more obvious things that I could be doing and could be spending more energy on and could be doubling down on, which would already give me the results I want. But instead I'm kind of wasting time learning new things that I'm not yet implementing and that I'm not yet applying. And that
Hmm.
makes a lot of sense, I think, when it comes to reading books and learning. Honestly, like what you ingest, like just consuming and not producing at the same rate. So you're just consuming more than you can actually execute on and produce. I think there has to be some kind of awareness of that balance, whether you're consuming, reading a book a week and just not acting, not doing anything, not being proactive, not having a social life, not sticking to your tasks, not being able to stick to your workflow. It's like, okay, there has to be some degree of prioritization there. And it made me think, when I read a book a week, what would I do differently in that sense? Because I do read a lot of productivity books and quite actionable, nonfiction books, but I do also try to read books that are relevant to what I'm trying to address right now, or any bottlenecks is maybe extreme because they're not fully blocking me, but things that pain points, I would say, things that I would like to come over or strengthen, like weaknesses, let's say.
Hmm.
And that's why I chose Deep Work. Like, for example, I just read the book Deep Work last week, and to be honest, I didn't finish it, but I've moved on because I feel like I got the main message. I listened to probably three-quarters of it on Audible, and I got some good takeaways. I got plenty for me to work on, and then it got to a point where it was getting a bit redundant and it was getting a bit into the details, and I felt like this is a bit. I'm not going to use this right now. It's a bit too much for me. I don't really need this. Let me just take away that main message. I got a lot of insightful things here. Let me move on. Let me put this book aside. I'll come back to it if it becomes relevant again. But I've already got plenty to work with, and I've learned a lot from that. And for me, that the main realizations from that, for example, was focus, like attention, how valuable attention is. Of course, we know this, but
Hmm.
it was a reminder I feel like I needed to hear. And I've been acting since then to limit my phone use. So I only pick up my phone, of course. I try to only pick up my phone if I have a reason for it. So I have some sort of intention, whether it's I'm going to message this friend, I'm going to reply to all these people, I'm going to do this. So I can't just pick up my phone and check social media for the sake of checking it. So just being more intentional with how I use the internet and my phone, and also being aware of your attention, being more aware of my attention and where it goes, especially during deep work sessions. So, for example, closing all of my tabs except the single task I'm working on and having absolute clarity on it. And I can see myself go from working on a task to, oh, there's this LinkedIn thing that popped up. Let me start reading this LinkedIn post. Oh, let's go back to the task. Because in the book, they talk about how much that affects your ability to focus on a task. So if you shift your attention from something and back, your mind will stay with the thing you just shifted your attention to for like minutes and minutes after going back to the task. So you can't just switch that quickly. So it significantly takes away from your ability to produce creative work. And there's kind of there's a practical side to it because of your actual attention and ability to concentrate, but also a kind of meaningful side to it, which I thought was quite interesting, like a more deep sort of philosophical
Like having
point,
more
I'd say.
focus on something makes it more meaningful, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if you're always distracting yourself, if you always have your phone in reach, your mind is never fully present in a task for a significant amount of time. You probably have no more than 10 minutes max isolated to thinking on one thing. And that limits your creative potential and it limits your ability to actually invest in something and get somewhere with it, create something meaningful essentially. And that kind of resonated with me. And I thought that was really, really interesting. And that's plenty for me to work with. Like since then, I have been more aware at work, for example, of protecting my deep work blocks, of putting my phone away, and also of he talks a lot about disconnecting and device fasting and how the correlation between mental health and using a device and being connected on the internet and how device fasting is like one of the best things you can do for your attention and for your long-term brain health as well, which is something that's not really been researched that much, but it's
Yeah,
obviously gonna come out, and I think that's gonna be quite scary for some people.
yeah, that's something
And
that makes
we
me nervous, or like not nervous, but like I'm more curious about how like
exactly,
there's so
yeah.
many things that's been introduced in the past like 20 years that we need
Mhm.
like another 100 years to actually find out what it does to us.
Yeah, exactly. And the screen thing, it makes sense. Like we're already seeing it with ADHD and everything, but
Hmm.
yeah, I think it's kind of tricky because we do so many different things, and it feels essential for us to always be available. And I even messaged you about this after I read it. I told you, yeah, I'm gonna try to disconnect more
Hmm.
because we do so many things. But I also use that as an excuse, like, oh, I'm in the busy phase of my life, so it's an excuse for me to always be available and always be have my phone around, which is just negatively impacted me. And
Especially with creating content, like I
yeah,
like in your
for
personal brand, like you have to all respond to people who are commenting on my post or reaching
yeah,
out to other collaborators or other influencers, especially when I post. Like it,
yeah,
yeah,
like in my mind, I feel like because I'm posting every day, I feel like I need to be available at all times
yeah,
and I need to be using the platform as much as possible for it to work. But really, there's nothing productive coming out of me being on my phone a lot. Besides, like if I just post every day, then I don't need to be on the phone constantly. Like there's no real benefit to that
hmm.
besides distraction
Also,
to
if you
take me
just
away.
like put like a 30-minute block in your day where like, oh, I'm answering messages now, and that's it.
Exactly. I want to get better at that and then give myself kind of windows where I can be on the device. And
Hmm.
then windows where I know I can't use it. So then I have to read and just just be honestly and be with my thoughts and plan things and yeah, that was quite interesting. And yeah, the book just talks a lot about protecting your time and your attention, which yeah, and also how tasks and to do like if you have unopened or sorry unfinished tasks, how much that bleeds into your kind of personal life when you're not working, and how
Yeah.
hard it becomes to rest when you have all these things going on and when you've been just constantly distracted. It does your attention, it does bleed into your attention into the evening and so forth. And I feel that right now. I'm Wednesdays are meant to be my relax day where I
Hmm.
don't work in the evening on anything after my 9 to 5. We do the podcast and that's it for my evening. But I feel so on edge right now. Like I'm not super. I just went bouldering for like an hour and a half, and I still feel like even there. I didn't tell you, but I feel like I couldn't get present. I
All
was
right,
just.
which
I
is
was
weird.
not there.
Yeah.
I was not there at all. I was just.
It's not good, especially when you're bordering. It's like something I like everyone
Oh,
says when I'm broad and like I'm super present.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Bouldering is meant to be one of those things where you're like, oh yeah, your mind is just there. You're thinking when
Yeah,
you're on the wall, you're fully just
immerse.
in the moment, trying to feel your way around and keep your balance. And you're so focused on the task that there's nothing else in your mind, and it gives you clarity. I was not there at all. I was just even when I was climbing the wall, I had no balance. I feel like I wasn't even focused on climbing the wall. I was like doing terribly. It was really not like yeah. I could tell my
You get
mind
very
wasn't
high.
there. Sorry,
You didn't get very high.
no, I didn't get very high. I could tell. yeah, my mind was not there, and it still isn't. I'm still very much spread out, and I don't really know why that is today, to be honest. I feel like I've been sticking to the same routine, but today feels a bit more rushed, in fairness. I think I this evening was a bit rushed, and knowing I still have some stuff I want to get done, like some little tasks. I probably yeah, I think it's just important to log off and know when you want to be done for the day and make it an absolute non-negotiable instead of pushing small tasks to the evening,
Yeah.
which I'm very, very guilty of.
And it's the
Even
same
no
thing with
matter,
like devices, like knowing from this time until this time, yeah, I can be my device, but after 7 o'clock, I'm done with devices, or
Mhm.
until like 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm not on my phone.
Exactly. Yeah. But sorry, just to go back quickly to the thing that made me go on this rant, the book thing, like reading for the sake of
Hmm.
reading when it's like you're reading to learn something that's going to make you better at something,
Yeah.
and then it's like why not just do the thing if you already have some knowledge and some things you can be working on in that area.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's like, do you need to learn more or do you need to just execute on what you've already learned, basically?
Yeah. And there's
And
like so many
you're
things
just
where like
yeah,
you could learn everything by doing a thing, but you're definitely not going to learn everything by reading, if that makes sense.
exactly,
It's
exactly.
like the yeah, yeah. It's like the I forget what it's called. It's like the idea that you can't if a person was in a room and it was all black and like it was all monochrome and like
Mhm.
they're like studying colors and how they perceive it the whole time, they wouldn't actually understand the colors. But if they went outside and saw like a rose, then they would actually understand like the colors, if that makes sense. So it's like you have to
No,
actually do the thing.
sorry, I didn't get that. If they're in a
There's
monochrome
a name
room
for it.
and
It's
there's
like a thought experiment. But if you're locked in a room and everything around you is black and white, and you don't
Mhm.
like there's no colors around you basically, and you're just like studying colors and how like the wavelengths and um how like it's perceived and people describing colors, you're not
Mhm.
actually gonna know the experience of seeing of colors.
You're not going to know the experience of colors.
Hmm. It's
Yeah,
basically just
right.
saying there's some things that you cannot learn unless you just do them.
Mhm. No,
There's
that
like
makes
an exercise if you want to get better at like a bench press. You're not gonna do a bunch of like accessory movements around the bench press. You can do the bench press to get better at the bench press.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that makes complete sense. Yeah, yeah, because there's nothing you can do with extra learnings. Like, there's no real benefit to stack 1,000 books if you're not acting on it and if you're not
Mm.
implementing anything. Because learning for the sake of learning is, yeah, it's completely useless. And that's what I was kind of thinking myself. It's what am I reading? For example, like when I read before bed, is that to learn or is that for entertainment? And then
I
it's
think
like,
no, I
okay,
think for
what?
me, reading before bed is reading for the sake of reading, and I think I'm fine
That's
with that. I'm happy with that, and I think
that's what that's
there's
what I
no
thought
issue
as
with that.
well. But then, what do you read before bed then? Philosophy.
Yeah, either philosophy or fiction.
But if I'm reading, for example, Robert Greene, like Mastery before bed, which is what I've been doing, is
Hmm.
that really for fun? Is that really for fun? Like, it's interesting.
Yeah, like if you're enjoying it, then yeah, it's just fun because also it's just part of your wind down routine.
And am I overthinking if
If you're like reading in bed and then you're like, wait, how do I apply this? And you like get stressed about that, then like I wouldn't do that just because it's not
but
like,
but of course, if you read this, you do think about how you're going to implement it. That's the thing.
yeah, but there's no like point of getting like overthinking it, you know?
No, I guess no, no. But yeah, you wrote something interesting when I told you that. The same with journaling as well. How you're not going to fix your problems kind of on a journal, but you're going to fix your problems in real life, and just stop taking yourself away from experiences and moments and focus on just seeking
Hmm.
experiences. Focus on your relationships. And it did make me think. My first reaction was, "Whoa, I need to be doing less." Like the idea of essentialism. It's like, okay, am I just distracting myself with all these books, the journaling, the habits? And then I really thought about the habits and the journaling and the things which I did put there for a reason, and I do try to have meaning behind them. And I felt, yeah, like could I be cutting down on this and spending more time, for example, not being rushed throughout my day? So
Hmm.
if I just remove the journaling, if I just remove the reading, does it just give me more time to live my day and to breathe and to rest? Or like, does it give me more time to focus on relationships or training or anything that's more higher up on the kind of priority list, like the actual things themselves?
Hmm.
But then I thought, but I do kind of journal and read for their own reasons, but is it too much? And I don't know. I don't really have a conclusion for that. But then you wrote something when I texted you that was I didn't fully understand, but it was quite interesting. You can explain.
I mean, in my take is that like the things he's saying, it's not a reason to not read, and not journal. It's more of a reason to like just act more in general. Um, maybe
Be what do you
it's a
mean?
good
Be
reason to
pro
like, sorry,
be proactive.
yeah, be proactive. I think maybe it's a good reason to maybe plan a little bit less, but things like journaling and reading, I think you do for the sake of journaling and reading, and that's fine. It's not really like I don't journal for the sake of, for example, being more productive. I journal for the sake of presence and self-reflection.
Really? Because I think that's what I struggle with. It's like, am I doing these things for a means to an end? Like with journaling, am I doing it to get more insights to be more productive? I think so.
You think you do?
Well, I journal to get peace of mind, to be more present, to live life to its fullest, and to, you know, act more. But how do you know how do you test the efficiency of that or the effectiveness? Or
Just how you feel. Like you can't really. It's
yeah,
not like you're not going to have a scientific test on it.
you're not. But that's what I'm sort of thinking. Is it effective enough where I should be doing this, or should I just cut it out and just not have it? That's kind
Mostly
of
it's a
my
person.
dilemma.
Sorry.
That was a bit of my dilemma, I guess.
Obviously, it's a personal thing, and also how much time and mental real estate it takes in your life. Like you said earlier about like focusing on relationships or having more time to just live, so you're not rushed and stuff like that. Like if you're adding journaling to your routine, it takes like 30 minutes, and those 30 minutes could be used on like not rushing, and then that makes your life better in general. Then like maybe yeah, you should weigh that out. But I think for me at least, I prioritize the time for journaling because it's just I just enjoy it. Like it's just something I like. I personally I know I do it for a means to an end, and yeah, like outside of that, I think it's just something that yeah, I think it makes sense for me to do as a means to end, just because yeah, I enjoy it and it feels fulfilling.
Yeah, I completely get that, and I think the same. Actually, I feel the same way because when I do think about it, I do kind of enjoy having that in my routine. But I think the way I've done it now is a bit too rigid, and maybe that's what I have resistance with.
Right.
Because right now I follow like a template where I do like three things I'm grateful for, three things I want to get done today, and two like yeah, like it's a bit too structured. And I think sometimes I feel like I'm just doing that for the sake of doing that when it's not really I'm not really getting anything out of it. Like I have to
Right.
force myself to think about what I'm grateful for, and it's like I just want to write my thoughts right now. I don't want to do this. Like it feels like it's going against the idea of journaling to some extent. Because
Hmm.
what I was doing for the longest time was just writing out whatever. One day I would write, I'm grateful for this. One day I would write, this happened today. It was amazing. I'll talk about an experience, maybe a lesson I feel like I've learned that day, something I feel like I struggled with, whatever. Right? And I think maybe that's how I prefer doing it because it's more flexible and it feels more enjoyable because you get more creative with it. And the idea of writing is also a very open ended kind of, you can say, high leverage skill or endeavor. Like
Yeah.
training how to think while you write.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Like it's the idea of being like self-critical on your day as well, and seeing like for example, inherently you're gonna want to journal more, like on days that one more happen. Oh, like one more happens, and I think that
mhm.
makes sense. So like on days that you not much has happened, then you're self-reflective as that on that as well, and why, for example, you feel less meaningful and stuff like that.
Exactly. I think it kind of prevents you from having wasted days.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a self accountability check, and I do like that. I think it's that gives enough purpose for me to keep that. I think because otherwise days can go by. I mean, think about before I started, like months would go by where I didn't really make any progress or do anything that I would consider meaningful because I wasn't even thinking about it.
hmm
But I do feel like now I'm probably thinking about it maybe too much. So just finding a balance there, but also with reading, I yeah, because I guess I read to learn, and I do enjoy it, discovering new things and being curious about topics and subjects and trying to master a skill. Like I enjoy the process of it. But what do you think about the idea of is that just enjoying learning, or is that just enjoying progress, or enjoying because could that also just be kind of mental masturbation?
It depends if you like for me, like learning about philosophy and stuff like that. So a lot of times it's not really like yeah, it's applicable, but it's not going to change my life that much. I just enjoy it because I find it interesting, and the
Mhm.
actual interest of it is why I do it. Um, but if you're, for example, like reading a book about, for example, deep work and
Or
productivity,
productivity?
and
Yeah,
there's sections that realistically you're not going to apply. Realistically, you just listen to it because Chris Williamson told you to listen to it or something like that. Like you're and
but
but
yeah,
like
I guess all of the things I read do feel applicable, and I find them interesting because they are relevant
Mhm.
if it's on the productivity side. But otherwise, I do just enjoy reading philosophy, for example, or human nature. Like I find that really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what was the quote you mentioned from Marcus
I
Aurelius?
mean, in meditations, he talks a lot about how he reads too much because, I mean, I imagine it's pretty similar to like consuming content now, like outside of books. Like for example, like watching YouTube or scrolling through Instagram is probably
Yeah,
the same
just
for them back then. I'm reading books.
over consuming.
Yeah, because he writes a lot about how like he really enjoyed reading and how he would just stay inside and just read and yeah overconsume and he wouldn't anything do anything really meaningful during his day. Um, and yeah, especially as being like a Roman emperor, it's probably not the wisest thing to do.
Right.
Um, but yeah, because I mean, yeah, like he's drawn to himself, and I think the one I sent you, it was a quote I found. It was, "Give up your thirst for books so that you do not die a grouch." Like a grouch is like I think it's like I think the general definition is like someone who basically just does not do anything or like or it was like I think it was like rooted down, so like he just doesn't move or something like that. But
Right.
yeah, it's like the thing of taking action. Um,
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, I
that's pretty
guess
applicable.
I think we're pro. Yeah. This is probably completely overthinking it. I think it's like I would just like now that we've talked about it, I would just kind of simplify this down to are you living like a balanced life? Like, are there some obvious imbalances? Like, if you're
Yeah,
reading a book a week, but your life has been the same for the past year, then probably stop reading and start doing some stuff. If your social life is non-existent, but you're spending all your time learning, like maybe balance that out. I think it
yeah,
kind of
I
comes
think
down.
yeah, it's also something that I remember Chris Ferguson talking about in one of his podcasts on Going Milk Mode, on how a lot
Yeah.
of times people use milk mode as an excuse to like basically not act or have like zero social life, and that's like really stupid. And that's like one of his criticisms of milk mode on how people just don't like yeah they use it as an excuse just to not do anything like social, and that's great. It hinders their like self-improvement journey.
Yeah. 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 I completely agree. Completely. And that's what I spoke about a lot actually with the guy in the meeting earlier. Spoke a lot about the importance of balancing those things.
hmm
Yeah. It's funny. I wanted to talk a bit about the info products we've been working on today, but we've only got 5 minutes left. So maybe we'll save that for the next one.
Yeah, yeah. But I'd be considering another pod this week. I'd be happy to.
Yeah, we should maybe do them this weekend. Could be nice.
Mhm.
Yeah. But
Correct.
I guess yeah, just maybe quickly we can reflect on how this week's been going so far.
Hmm.
How's it been for you in general with
For
everything?
me, it's been good. There's quite a lot on my plate in terms of foundation workflow, but I'm just doing it in like time chunks in terms of the week. So these first 3 days, I'm just working on doing content in terms of the pin posts, getting those out because we want our page to look good, and like proper so that we can start contacting people and refer them back to the page. Um, then after today, I'll be working on the actual blueprint, the info product. And
Mhm.
I'll probably do that through the weekend, and then during the weekend I'll work more on content itself, making more templates and get it scheduled for like a week after next week. So next weekend can just keep riding the momentum.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's been manageable workload wise?
Yeah, I mean it's been 3 days, but yeah, I think so far it's been manageable. It's more of a mental real estate thing because I feel like I do have the time in the week for it. And it's just a matter of planning accordingly in my day so that I don't like it doesn't clash over with other time or it doesn't affect my uni workflow. My uni workflow doesn't affect the foundation workflow.
Yeah, no, I completely get you. Yeah, yeah, I've had a big realization this week that I mean, it's something we knew, we've discussed, but just kind of the idea was a bit reinforced that we have one goal, right? One
Hmm.
focus between now and January, and that's to get the foundation where we want it to be. And we have our clear metrics and we know where that is. But that is kind of the main focus. And I feel like the days when I don't act as much as I want to on that, I feel bad because I feel like I'm not moving
Hmm.
towards that goal. And of course, that's not great to isolate my sense of worthiness and my sense of satisfaction to that because it's limiting. And if something goes wrong, then it's you don't want all of your happiness and fulfillment to be judged on that. But I think I do have enough other things going on to kind of balance that out.
Hmm.
But ultimately, the days where no attention is spent on that, I do feel kind of guilty. And with the content for my personal brand, like the 75 hard challenge I've been doing, that's been taking up so much of my mental space, disproportionate to the amount of mental space I want to invest on the foundation.
Hmm.
And we have so much clarity on the tasks and what needs to be done, but I could just use like a whole week of nothing but that, and we would flip it around and we would be in such an incredible place. But I've been so tight time wise where it's been intense and it's been hard for me to do deep work on the foundation, even on the weekends because the weeks have been so intense. So when I do have my longer time blocks on the weekends, I feel like I end up spending a lot of that time just like catching my breath and like
Hmm.
head above water, completing some tasks and stuff. And yeah, I'm just trying to be realistic and really break down these tasks, which I feel like I've done. But ultimately, getting off the hamster wheel has been my main focus for the content, so I can actually not think about content every day, and I can think about the foundation instead, and just have one day where I think about content. And yeah, it's a process. It was a bit optimistic to believe that would happen the first week. Like that's a huge challenge in itself, and it's been taking me so much self control and focus and
Hmm.
prioritization. But it's getting better, which I'm happy with. It is getting better, and it's yeah, it's going the right way. But that has to happen quick if we want to get the results we want on the foundation. And
Yeah.
it's October now, so we do want this week to be a good one and kind of wrap up the September month by yeah, we know we set our goals for this week, which was to get for my on my end it was to get 5 ambassadors for the foundation, to reach out to 25 of the people on our Dream 100 list to see if they could kind of, just have a first message written to them, try to begin developing some relationships with some people who share an audience with us and who could share our stuff to, oh yeah, 30 seconds remaining, to our, yeah, essentially help us get traffic. And then um, the last one was about
Right. Though.
the yeah, put the running club group chat together, which is what I've been working on as well. And I think, yeah, I do believe it's possible, but it's just yeah, it just takes a lot of focus and prioritization. But that's, yeah, things are getting better. So I am optimistic, and I do believe it's doable. But it's going to be exciting to see where we are at the end of this week, and I look forward to the next podcast as well.
Yeah, so.